expression x to the 9th minus 3 squared. Come in. Hi, Mom.
Hi. Still working so late? On Friday night?
This is my last algebra problem. I'll save my history until tomorrow.
Sarah, your father and I appreciate the fact that you take your schoolwork seriously. But, well, couldn't you manage to arrange your time so you could have a little fun, too?
I have a certain amount of homework to do, and I like to get it done on time.
But you have the whole weekend. You could go out on Friday night or have somebody in.
Like them? Is that what you mean?
Having a good time is all I mean. And that's why I talked to Ron's mother the other day.
You didn't? Well, I suppose you fixed it so he'd have to invite me over.
I might have, if it had been necessary. But I found out that those Friday night get-togethers are open houses. You could go.
I know I could if I wanted to. I don't.
I think you should go. You're only young once and
Mother, don't be so corny. There's nobody over there I want to see. I think I'd better finish my algebra.
Of course, dear. We'll talk about this some other time.
I think I'm actually just going to pull a fast one. I think so too. Glad to have you.
Okay, Ron, thanks. Take it easy.
Your friends are certainly a nice bunch, Ron.
Yeah, they're the greatest.
Do you suppose they'd like to help you do something really nice?
What do you mean, Mom?
Well, how about being more friendly to Sarah Inman?
Sarah Inman? Oh, Mom.
No, really, dear, I mean it. Now, you could invite Sarah over here next Friday to join us.
Ask Sarah to come over here? Well, gee whiz, why?
Oh, don't you want her to come?
No, I don't particularly want her. Sarah Inman.
Now, Ron, you know we've always said that all of your friends are welcome here at any time.
Well, I know, Mom, but, well, the idea just kind of grew. We've got a large game room, well-stocked refrigerator, and lots of good records. So the gang started drifting in here on Friday. Nobody needed to be asked, but Sarah never came. She's too high hat for that. She wants a special invitation, and if she gets it, it'll be just one more reason for her to think she's better than anybody else.
Now, look here, Ron. Years ago, when you had rheumatic fever, don't you remember who it was who came over here every day and read to you by the hour?
Well, sure, Mom, but well, she's changed since then.
Oh, no, Ron, I don't think she's really changed. Why don't you give her a chance?
Well, she was good to me once. I guess I can ask her to honor us with her presence. I'll call her tomorrow.
Thanks, son. You know, growing up brings different problems to different people. And some, well, they just don't quite bring it off without falling down somewhere.
Well, if you ask me, where Sarah fell down was when she went into junior high. Well, when she was in grade school, she was swell. She made good grades and had lots of friends. But when she started going to junior high with lots of other sharp kids, well, she couldn't be a big wheel. Now she's in senior high and,
Oh, it's too bad. It seems, well, you know, it sounds like she needs a friend.
You're nominating me? I don't know. She may cut me dead. She does lots of other people. And I don't think she cares at all.
Her Highness has a new sweater.
Ooh, it's luscious. You've got to hand it to Sarah. She certainly has good taste.
The way she acts, you'd think nobody else did.
She'll hear you. That's an awfully pretty sweater, Sarah.
Well, don't speak. Were you talking to me? Never mind. Hear nobody, see nobody, talk to nobody. That's Sarah. No wonder she had any friends.
Say, and Maxon made secretary.
Yeah, Jerry made vice president.
President Bill Tyler. That's great.
Hey, Bill made president. Jerry made vice president and Maxon made secretary.
What's all the excitement?
Oh, it's the results of the election for next year's student council officer. Bill Tyler made president.
Hey, let's get on the platter. Sure, okay. I'll see you.
I suppose you don't think Bill's the best man for the job?
Best man in the job.
Oh, that girl. She's just sore because we picked Bill's design for the yearbook cover instead of hers. Let's go to class.
I know you shoot us all out of the kitchen, but I don't mind drying dishes. Besides, I wanted to talk to you, Pumpkin.
You did?
You're so quiet during dinner. Something's bothering you. Care to cry on my shoulder?
Daddy, there's nothing to cry about.
Not one little thing?
There are lots of little things we could talk about. But it wouldn't do any good.
I'm waiting.
Oh, all right. You'll think I'm silly. Well, this morning, when I came to class, I was worried about the history test first period. I was going over it in my mind, and somebody spoke to me. Nancy Yeager. I didn't hear what she said, but she looked at me as if she just hated me. I worked hard on the history test, but I flubbed it. I know there are lots of people in there that don't study half as hard as I do, and they come off with the A's. I'm smarter than they are. I know I am. Last week, I worked just hours and hours on a design for the yearbook cover. Bill Tyler handed in just a blotchy sketch. I couldn't see anything to it. But his design is going to be on the yearbook cover. It isn't fair. This afternoon, Ron from next door called and invited me over Friday night. I had to say yes because Mother's been pressuring me, but I don't want to go. Bill Tyler will be there, and I don't like him. President of Student Council. All the kids that get by on apple polishing will be there, too, and I don't like them.
Pumpkin. I'm sorry you don't like so many people. Friends are important in this world. You should encourage others to make good and not dislike them for it. I think maybe your mother's right. I think you should go to Ron's get-together this Friday. Try to like people for whatever they are.
That's all the dishes. I can clean out the sink.
Okay, Pumpkin. Just one more question. All these people you don't like, aren't they happier than you are? Aren't they happier than you are? Aren't they happier than you are?
Not for you. First choice goes to our new president. Come on, hurry.
Look at them, playing up to it. Bill Tyler, big man. Everything he does is too clever. Makes me sick. I'm just as good as he is. No, I'm better. He'll get no playing up from me.
I didn't know which was going to wear out first, me or the music.
What are you going to play next, huh?
Why, we're going around show again?
Hey, how about it? You want to dance?
I'd rather not.
Well, you want to sit and talk then?
I'd rather not. Not with you.
Well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you mad.
Oh, are you satisfied?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You really froze him out, didn't you?
I don't know what business it is of yours if I don't want to dance.
Well, I think you did want to dance. You wanted to dance, all right, but you just couldn't pass up the chance to be a snob. What's the matter? Sarah? Sarah, come back.
I can't.
Why not? What's the matter? Can I do anything?
No. Oh, Ron, they're so mean and hateful. They don't understand anybody who isn't one of their gang and doesn't do all the silly things they do. They don't understand.
They didn't mean it. Isn't there something I could...
The snob, hurting everyone, herself, her parents, her friends, other people. What makes Sarah act the way she does? Is it a cover-up for some lack she feels in herself? Can a friend like Ron help her in any way? Is the group justified in judging everything Sarah does as snobbery? What do you think?
Hello, I'm Angela, and over the next few sessions, we're going to be together talking about you growing up, your body, its changes, and a lot more. And I think you're going to find it fascinating. Everything is based on love, and the person who loves us most of all is God. So let's start by asking him to help us to understand about it all. Dear Lord, I want to invite you to be with us as we talk together about growing up, because you are the inventor of people. You are the one best able to understand us and help us to understand and love one another. So this is the newlywed couple here, and they're showing their love for each other by love-making. Love-making just means making each other feel loved. How do you make a person feel loved? Well, you give them kisses and hugs and you hold them close. But between a man and a woman, it's a bit different. Because when they hold each other really close and give a long kiss and a warm hug. They tell each other that they're beautiful and everything like that. And they also have a bit of a laugh because they are the best of friends. And then something happens. In a very short time, because they're so close, the man feels his penis becoming erect, that's straight, hard, and the sperm coming down into it, like it did when he had a wet dream. Now, while the sperm is coming into the man's penis, the woman's body is getting ready to receive the sperm. It's amazing, you know, how God made it. Because while they're making love and being happy together, the woman feels her vagina becoming kind of slippery inside, so that the penis can easily slip in and out. No trouble. So he slips his penis into her vagina, gives her the sperm, then she has the sperm. Then the penis slips out, and that's all. And that's called sexual intercourse. Some people call it having sex. So the man passes the sperm to the woman, and now his sperm is in her. Maybe you're wondering if a mistake could be made and a man could pass water instead of semen and sperm when having sexual intercourse. But that can't happen because there's a valve which closes to stop the urine coming when sexual intercourse is taking place. Now, possibly you're saying to yourself, oh, I'll never do that. It's awful. Because, you know, when you hear about it first, it sounds very strange. But God has made it really lovely, an exciting and pleasant feeling. Welcome back. In the last lesson, you'll remember I spoke to you about your heart growing up. Remember? Now I'm going to talk to you about your body growing up. So let's start with the basics. We all know that girls' and boys' bodies are different, and that's fine. Maybe you'll laugh when I mention that, because you may feel quite shy about it. Anyway, let's be quite open about it. With a girl, down between her legs, there are 3 openings. You use the front opening when you go to the toilet and pass water, and the back opening is for when you go to the toilet and do the big job. And there's a center opening between those 2, which is called the vagina. Now, today we're going to look at the boys. Do you like that? Unlike girls, boys have their sexual organs on the outside of their bodies. They have the penis, which is like a little tube. And some people call the penis funny names like John Willie or something, but we'll call it its real name, penis. Sometimes when you're married first, you do it a bit awkwardly, and then you have to laugh together because you don't know everything yet, but you learn together. It's very automatic and natural and happy. And the couple might try it in a different position, and one might say to the other, oh, that's a much better way. That's much more comfortable. When you hear about it first, it sounds very strange. But God has made it really lovely, an exciting and pleasant feeling. When you're joined together like one person, and you love each other so much, He has made it a really lovely feeling. I mean, supposing God made it an awful feeling, then nobody'd do it. And then we wouldn't have any babies. But he's made it this special, exciting feeling. So much so that people are tempted to do it before they're married. Well, that's just an ordinary human temptation. But God doesn't want people to have sexual intercourse before they're married. And you remember, he's the inventor, and he knows what's best.
Here's to the ladies, the fair and the weak. Fair they are, we'll all admit. But who dares call them weak? Our modern girls play as hard and with as much vitality and stamina as any man. How do they do it? Where do they find all that energy, that seemingly inexhaustible store of pep and ginger? What is that whipcord resilience that lets the weaker sex play half the night, then bob up clear-eyed, ready for the next morning's work? This frail creature strikes her typewriter keys about 40,000 times a day, spaces 7,000 times, shifts to capitals and returns the carriage more than 1,000 times each. Altogether, a few ounces at a time, she exerts more than 5 tons of pressure on her dainty fingertips in one day's work. And any way you look at it, women's work is not for sissies. Most men would have a hard time of it if they were to change jobs with wife, mother, or girlfriend. The homemaker walks miles every day, from sink to icebox, from cupboard to stove, and from kitchen to dining table. Let's use some very special photography to compress the whole job of preparing a meal into a few seconds of time, to see how many steps it really takes to get dinner on the table. Remember, this is a hurry-up picture of just one meal out of more than 1,000. Is that what you'd call a blitz meal? Even an efficiency expert would be staggered by the amount of chasing around and indoor road work that the little woman takes as a matter of course. There's the stair-climbing event, for example, usually accomplished full tilt and with an armload of brooms, mops, blankets, and sundry household paraphernalia. Here's another hurry-up picture of the clinging vine whizzing through a day's program that would leave the average mountaineer gasping for breath. Each trip upstairs is the equivalent of lifting her own weight 12 feet. And at the rate of 20 trips a day, that's lifting about 12 tons of weight. Who said weaker sex? Ironing is another kind of work that's a lot of little jobs all rolled into one. Just to iron one of hubby's shirts, for instance, the iron may have to be lifted 20 or 30 times. And since a flat iron weighs about as much as a brick, a day's ironing actually uses just about as much muscle as bricklaying. Flattening a towel or wielding a trowel, even Stephen. Had your iron today, lady? Because men are beginning to realize how much lifting and pushing the little woman has to do around the house, more and more muscle savers are being designed to make the little jobs easier. It's one thing to make 6,000 separate scrubbing motions over a tub of clothes, and quite another to push a button that does all the work. Here's another example of sheer brute force. Now, let's make a super scientific test. You'll notice that this girl is wearing a very special thimble. In fact, it isn't a thimble at all, but a gadget of springs and levers to measure the amount of force needed to sew on a button. And it's called an ergometer. According to the ergometer dial, it takes 18 units of force to push the needle through the cloth just once. In sewing stitch by stitch, that work adds up. Any man will admit that's a lot of work when it's called to his attention in the right way. And this is one way of calling it to his attention. This hurry-up picture shows that a stitch in time doesn't always save 9. And anyway, who wants to save 9 stitches when a machine can do all the work? A sewing machine is really an amazing invention, especially when you stop to think that a man invented it. Yet it's simple when you know how it works. We'll slow this one down so that for the first time on a theater screen, we can all see exactly what goes on inside a sewing machine. Well, there's the needle with a little loop of thread running through the eye. That's the eye right there close to the point. The needle carries the thread down through the cloth. At the same time, underneath the cloth, another little loop of thread is being carried in a moving carriage called a shuttle. The shuttle moves past the needle. The loops of thread cross each other and form a smooth stitch. And so, that's the way a sewing machine takes the place of a lot of needless needle nudging and keeps everyone in stitches. Amazing! In the early days of motoring, no woman in her right mind would tackle the job of starting the engine because the job had to be done the hard way. Let George do it was the slogan, and ever since, men have bragged about being the better drivers. Then the muscle savers got to work, and the self-starter put the woman driver behind the wheel instead of in the back seat. But even recently, a motor car demanded a certain amount of athletic prowess on the part of the driver. For example, in shifting gears. Let's hook up one of these work measuring machines or ergometers to this old-fashioned gear shift lever to see how much muscle it needed to run through the gears. 90 units. Starting and stopping, parking and backing up on a full day's driving amounted to more than a ton of pushing plus about a city block of reaching. Putting the shift lever up by the steering wheel would cut down the amount of reaching. But with such a short lever, it would be even more work to shift the gears. In fact, more than 100 units. To make this job easier, some sort of machine was needed to take over the muscle work of moving the gears in and out of mesh. Yet, because the speed of the car and the conditions of load are never twice quite the same, a certain amount of human judgment would help to shift gears quietly and smoothly. A muscle-saving engineer who went to work on this two-sided problem found that the vacuum produced inside the motor car engine could develop plenty of power to do the actual work. And by means of a super-sensitive control, the driver could still be the real gear-shifting boss. The sensitive control can regulate the pressure in a powerful vacuum chamber so that the slightest movement of the lever will bring about a strong push in a desired direction. A push that can be controlled to follow the movement of the lever with infinite exactness. This device, connected to the gears of a motor car, can do 80% of this work of shifting, yet leave enough for the driver to sense the response of the gears as they move smoothly into place. Now let's use that ergometer gadget again to see how much undesirable exercise we've saved this member of the fair and so-called weaker sex. Now the dial shows about 30 units, only a few ounces of push with the vacuum gear shift. And if you stop to think about it, that's a vast improvement when it's multiplied by the amount of expert driving that our American girls do nowadays. Now that the muscle savers are busy, cutting down the amount of unnecessary work for women and for men, we'll all have more energy left for playtime. But there are still plenty of jobs left for the ergometer and the work-saving scientists to tackle. Think of all the energy that our charming millions spend in keeping beautiful. And if science is so darn wonderful, why doesn't some genius build a contraption like this?
Today, everybody tells us we should talk about sex to our children, but nobody tells us just how.
I'm a nerd when it comes to talking about sex with my children. A few bad starts have scared me off completely.
In this film, we are going to discuss quite frankly the things that are normal and to be expected in the development of children in relation to sex.
Mary, the baby doesn't come out of your navel. Let me tell you how it is. There's a special opening just in front of the place where you have your BM. It's very, very tiny in a little girl, but as you grow, it grows too, right along with the rest of you.
Some of you may become somewhat uncomfortable as parts of this film unfold, but I think if you listen carefully, you will agree that the concepts will contribute to the rearing of a mature person who has a healthy, responsible attitude toward the sexual side of his life. We've talked about the importance of answering the questions of the curious child. Equally important is how we react to his behavior. As children get a little older, there is a behavior pattern that is common to almost all boys and a large number of girls. I'm referring, of course, to masturbation.
There are two basic objectives to which we would like to draw your attention. First, note the many things that you should not do because they can be damaging to a healthy attitude.
It may sound funny to you, but boy, when I change my pants, I'd like to crawl in that locker. I feel so undeveloped.
That's not so funny. Before we moved here, I used to go to a school where we had to go swimming in the Bear. I was so embarrassed about the size of my penis that we used to dread the days we had to go swimming. Even though it was my best sport, I was good at it too, like you. Boy, what I wouldn't have given for a fig leaf, even from a small tree.
I never had a good enough understanding myself to really explain things.
I don't even know at what age to start. When should I begin?
When my kids ask me anything, I get butterflies in my stomach. I suspect my husband does too. I know he does. He evades these discussions like the plague.
Unless you're an extremely unusual audience, you will welcome some of this help. Because most people, parents or young people who are concerned about their own attitudes, have not in their own lives had the opportunity to gain this kind of insight. Let me at this point make a clear-cut scientific statement. Masturbation is not harmful. The young child often plays with his genitals, and after puberty, masturbation is a common release mechanism for the sex drive. Now I would like to turn to an entirely different subject, one of particular interest to the girls, menstruation.
There's been a real change in our approach to education about menstruation. It's hard to believe what grandmother experienced, but let's hear her story.
I'll never forget when I was 14 years old. I went to the little outhouse on our farm. My new dress was stained and there was blood on my underclothes. I ran inside and showed my mother. And all she said was, "You're menstruating," and turned and walked away. I had to find out how to take care of myself from my cousin.
Were any of your girlfriends told in advance by their mothers?
No, I'm afraid not. They were just as scared as I was. Some of them had older sisters who told them. One thing I was sure of, I would never let this happen to my daughter.
And when did you first learn about menstrual periods?
Oh, I really can't remember.
Well, now that you are a woman of experience, having had menstrual periods for several years, looking at the information that you received before you started, how would you evaluate it?
I just always sort of seemed to know something about it, and I knew that I'd have them someday. I do remember, though, when I started to develop, my mother reminded me that I'd probably be starting soon, and that's when she went into the sort of information that you gave in the animation. Not as clearly as that, but I felt I knew what the score was. And then she did a very practical thing. She gave me a belt and a pad, and I was all set.
If there is no fertilization, menstruation occurs. Since the uterine lining, or that nesty place little Mary was told about, is not needed to nourish the fertilized egg, it is sloughed off. This sloughing off of the broken down cells and blood from the lining of the uterus and their discharge through the vagina is what menstruation actually is.
Hi, Mom, what you got?
Hi, hon. A few personal things for myself. Whoop.
Mommy, what's this?
Well, I guess, honey, you're old enough now to understand these things. Those are sanitary pads for me, honey. You know that mothers have a special place inside them where the babies grow before they come out? Well, each month in a grown-up woman, a sort of soft, nesty place builds up. And some of the nest is blood. And if a woman is going to have a baby, she needs this nest for the baby to grow in. Now, let me tell you what the pads are for. If no baby has started there, then the blood in the nest isn't needed, and it just dribbles out of the vagina for a few days.
Here's a place where I want to make a brief comment about the influence of the advertising world in stimulating sexuality. Sales pitches for titillating devices such as perfumes, clothes, makeup are designed to lure the young girl or her over-anxious parent into accepting this exaggerated emphasis on sexuality or sex appeal as the standard, and the use of these devices as essential for competing sexually.
And then a fresh new nest place starts building up. That's what the pads are for, to catch the blood.
Does it hurt?
It shouldn't. It's something that happens to every girl when she grows up.
Parents don't talk freely about sexual matters with their children. They can't. They've been reared in such a way that it's a bugaboo. They don't have enough facts. Parents don't know when or how to begin.
Until when you're grown up, it gets to be just about this size. Now, when the baby's ready to be born, it stretches up to be about this size. Just big enough for the baby to slip through, head first. Then after the baby's born, it goes back to its regular size.
Parents should be aware of this, that this sort of pressure frequently helps set an artificial pace for the teenager. A young girl who is not yet ready or really interested in these devices may often feel that something is wrong with her since she's not really interested in these things when other girls are. On the other hand, many other girls who acquire the desired allure are as yet by no means mature in other ways, and they find the stage set for many problems they aren't ready to handle. They don't do it that way anymore. Perhaps you've heard some of the old wives' tales about don't take a bath, don't wash your hair, don't eat pickles while you're menstruating. Now, I would like to see if we can summarize what we have presented. Sex education, as such, is not difficult. It is only uncomfortable for parents because of their backgrounds and lack of know-how. From our experiences with many people, we have tried to bring out misconceptions and facts not well understood and tried to explain them on a scientific basis. It should be evident the advantages of starting early with explanations to children.
If you ask most parents what they really want for their children, the answer fundamentally is a good, satisfying, happy life. If we begin early to create an atmosphere of understanding in which the child is allowed to express his real feelings, we give honest answers to his questions, we're well on the road to to the kind of parent-child relationship that fosters the development of true maturity. Problems related to sex are not isolated problems, but are, for all but the rare individual, a part of some greater difficulty. Good communication between parent and child is one of the best ways of preventing problems.
Hey, now, wait a minute, Alice. You mean to tell me that with this big shindig staring you in the face, you still had time for golf?
Nothing to it. With this kitchen, it's a breeze. Come on over. Look at some of the evidence. By the way, did you know that this kitchen won an award from the Woman's Home Companion?
Huh?
And really, they thought of everything. I just love the convenience and modern styling of this built-in gas range.
Hey, Alice, aren't you going to light the oven?
I don't have to. It's completely automatic. You'll never guess what this sauce is for the baked ham. Equal parts of grape jelly and light mustard, blended and simmered. And this burner does it without scorching. Anyone care for a spot of grapefruit juice to tide you over?
Yeah.
Incidentally, one of the things I love about this refrigerator is that it turns out ice circles and puts them in a bowl for you. All by itself. Continuous ice circles.
Yeah? Really?
Aren't you taking a chance of staining that counter with fruit juice? No danger with Formica. Won't ever stain. Oh, that's the greatest help, George. Hanging the things you need where you need them. In fact, this whole kitchen was designed for efficiency and convenience.
That's what I like. Solid and sturdy as steel.
It's so easy to keep clean, too.
Hey, what's this?
Oh, automatic flour dispenser. Very handy. Here, I'll show you how it works.
Hey, what's going on here?
Oh, hey, Don Boyle.
George.
We're a little early.
Oh, that's good.
I've been showing them around.
Oh, good, darling. Hello, Jane.
Hi. Oh, Don, will you get rid of these for me while I sort this stuff?
Well, you might have pressed old George into service. Here, come on, George, and I'll show you how it works. This is really for me, chum.
What is it?
Well, it's a simple gas disposer. It takes care of all the waste. You know, the brightest, shiniest bride could use this gizmo.
Yeah? That's great.
And that also goes for this automatic water heater. Two temperatures from the same tank at the same time. Now, this pipe here, it gives you hot water for the bathroom and for the kitchen sink. But the other pipe, this one gives you really hot water for clothes and for dishes to make them really clean.
Wow.
Both any time you want. And look, George, if you're really interested in this layout, the man that set it up for us is a good friend of ours, Ed Stevens.
Yeah?
He's going to be here tonight. Yeah, just in case you'd have anything to ask him.
Yeah.
Yes, Mom, I've got it.
What's that? Oh, yes, the ticket he told me about. Well, let's see what he has to say. Here's the latest on my broken ankle. Doc says I'll be all right, only I have to stay off my feet for a week or so. Anyway, here's the ticket for the High Tea Carnival. It's too late to turn it in, so you have yourself a time and tell me all about it. One couple. That means a date. Not like just going around with the crowd. Just me and the girl. Well, that's all right. Only, what girl? Who?
How do you choose a date? Whose company would you enjoy? Well, one thing you can consider is looks. Woody thought of Janice and how good-looking she was. He'd really have to rate to date somebody like her. Yes, he'd enjoy that, except, well, it's too bad Janice always acts so superior and bored. She'd make a fellow feel awkward and inferior. Well, perhaps someone who doesn't feel superior. There's Betty, and yet it just doesn't seem as if she'd be much fun. What about Anne? She knows how to have a good time and how to make the fellow with her relax, have fun too. Yes, that's what a boy likes. He wants to know he's appreciated. Anne would be fun on a date. So Woody decided he'd ask Anne for this first date. But just how should he ask her? And what if she refused? No, it won't be easy asking for that first date.
Well, Woody, hi.
Hi, Ed.
What you doing?
Just thinking.
Don't work too hard.
Ed, is this private?
No, stick around if you like.
Well, hello, Edward. I thought I heard you come in.
Hi, Mom. What's for supper?
Oh, Mom, is it all right with you if I have a date Saturday night?
Well, of course, you generally go out on Saturdays.
Hello. May I speak to Mary, please?
But, Mom, this is different. A date. Well, I haven't asked her yet, but I'd like to take Aunt Davis to the High Teen Carnival.
Oh, Anne's a nice girl, but a date? Well, you're rather young.
Oh, Mom, give him a break. I think he can swing it. We all have to start sometime.
Well, if you don't overdo on dating, Ed knows what I mean. Weekends only and not too late.
Thanks,
Mary?
Mom.
I just called up to check on tonight. I think I can get by a little earlier than usual. How's 7:30? All right, Mary. Bye now.
Boy, you sure make it sound easy. How do you do it?
Practice, my boy. Experience.
But I don't think I'll know what to say, what to talk about.
Now, don't worry about that. Just be your natural, talkative old self. Come on, let's see what's for supper.
Wait a second. Oh, Mom, is the floor dry yet?
Yes, you can come in.
Hello, Mrs. Davis. This is Woody. Alan Woodruff. May I speak to Anne?
How do you ask for a date? What about this?
Anne? Well, how about a date?
Well, really? No thanks, Woody.
Well, suppose he did it this way.
Hi, Anne. What you doing Saturday night?
Well, I guess I'm busy.
Oh, yeah? Any chance of giving him the brush off for me?
Well, of all the nerve.
Well, is there another way?
Anne? This is Woody. Well, I have a ticket for the High Teen Carnival Saturday, and, well, would you like to go?
Why, yes, Woody. I'll have to talk to my folks about it, but I think I can go. That'll be fun.
Yeah. Well, shall I pick you up about 8 o'clock?
That's fine, Woody. 8 o'clock Saturday. I think it'll be all right, but I'll let you know for sure. Bye. A date with Woody. Saturday. Come in. Hi, Anne. Hi, Judy. What are you doing? Why aren't you the inquisitive little sister? I'm getting ready for my date tonight with Woody. Oh, he's nice. A date, huh? What'll you do? Go to some fancy place for dinner? No, silly. We're going to the High Teen Carnival. And then he'll bring me home. Oh, that doesn't sound like much. Why, we'd have fun at the carnival, you and I, wouldn't we? Oh, yes. Well, Woody and I are going to have fun in just that way. I think the important thing about a date is to have a good time. And you don't need to spend a lot of money to do that. You just enjoy whatever you're doing, whether it's movies or parties or anything. And you leave your boyfriend enough money so he'll ask you again. My, you'll be out late. Why not particularly late? Mom and Dad and I have an agreement about what time to come in. Look, will you be a honey and get my stockings from the bathroom? Sure.
Mom, do we have any cleaning fluid? There's a spot on my coat.
Goodness, you know we have some. Oh, here, let me.
No, I'll do it.
That's it, son. Look your best. Your first date is mighty important.
Yeah. Dad, were you excited the night of your first date?
I sure was.
So was I. I took my date seriously. A date was a major event. Why, the night of my first date, my date had a flat tire and he was an hour late. And he didn't even bother to call me. Well, when he finally came, I had to run upstairs and do my face and my hair all over again. Oh, I was so upset.
That fella had a lot to learn about girls. Your mother lost all interest in him after she met me.
And the moral of that story is that I should be on time tonight, right?
You bet. And the same goes for Ann.
Any girl who can't be ready on time for a date isn't good enough for my boy. Well, what are you doing? Oh, go find a mirror so you can see yourself.
Hi, Woody. Oh, hi. Big night, eh? Yeah. Flowers. Ann won't expect flowers, will she?
Huh? Oh, I hardly think so. I'm taking these to Mary because it's a special occasion. Of course, if you want to take flowers anyway, I guess there's no law against it.
But I don't have to, unless it's a ritzy affair.
That's the general idea. Flowers for a prom or a very special party. Otherwise, you don't need to. Say, I'll have to run.
Me too. See you later.
I'm going, folks.
All right, Ed. Have a nice time.
Time goes all too fast. Well, it's the time Ann had set for getting home. And now, good night. The end of a perfect evening. But how do you say good night? Perhaps...
Don't, please.
What, Ann?
Or it could go this way.
Well, so long.
Just like that. After all, a girl likes to know you've had a good time. So let's try saying goodnight again. One more way.
Well, it's getting late.
Yes, it is. I'd ask you in for a bite to eat if it weren't so late. Let's plan to get home in time for a sandwich or something next time.
Say, that sounds good. I'll call you next week.
Will you? Well, thanks so much. I had loads of fun.
So did I.
Good night, Woody.
Night, Ann.